Americans have been turned on to the idea of energy conservation. We've gone from turning off unneeded lights to putting away unnecessary energy-eating appliances. While there's a difference now in the amount of consumption on our utility bills, there doesn't seem to be a difference in cost. In fact, we're paying more for less.
There are two big factors. Inflation is the biggest one because it hits us like it does all other companies. The cost of labor, the cost of materials, the cost of transportation, everything that we deal with is the same as, in many cases, more so. Because we are such a capital-intensive industry, we need a lot more of this high-priced machinery than a lot of other companies do. Inflation is the first factor. The second one is the cost of fuel. About half of all of the money that we take in from our customers is used to buy fuel to generate the electricity that they use. And the cost of this fuel has continued to escalate.
Don't be discouraged. Energy saved is still money saved, no matter how high rates are. Sherry Sellers, Action 4.
The Concho Indian School is also a boarding school for children in grades 1 through 8. 140 children are enrolled here, some coming from as far away as South Dakota. The alternative to an Indian school is a public school, but some of the children who have attended them have found the experience less than favorable.
Because in public schools, sometimes they push you aside, especially if you're Indian. I've been there. I came here because I was in a public school, and I couldn't make it to that public school, so I came here. These white people, they don't look at you as a human being. They think you're something like dirt.
At the public schools, they'll stand around and they'll put you at the end of the line and let you ask your question last.
Some of these children are from broken homes. The parents didn't want them anymore. They have good places to sleep and good food, and the people here try to help them.
Now the federal government wants the school shut down by the end of the school year. A budget cut of some $16 million by the Office of Management and Budget is forcing the federal government to take drastic measures. But the children in this school feel the government has little conception of the kinds of problems Indians face living in western Oklahoma. So the students have written handwritten letters asking their congressman for help. And the school board met behind closed doors today, gathering facts they will use to present to the Department of Interior that the school should stay open. The school superintendent feels the Indian children are getting a good education. He, too, was a product of an Indian boarding school.
We've had two other schools that closed down, Bella, and we've had some of our students okay. And they, first of all, when we went and visited with them, and we talked about outplacements for them if they didn't go to the schools that shut down, and that program wasn't offered to them, what would they do? What they told us is they wouldn't be going to school at all. And so we have a whole host of children out of two of our programs that just didn't go back to school. I'm sure that's what we'd find in this case.
The Concho Indian School has been open more than 100 years. That's longer than Oklahoma has been a state. The next step in this controversy is a public hearing to be held by the Department of Interior tomorrow in Oklahoma City. At that time, parents, teachers, and children will tell the department they are adamant about keeping their school open. Bella Shaw, Action 4 in Concho, Oklahoma.
For the past few weeks, needy families have applied for eligibility to shop in the Christmas store. Shopping privileges are given to those people in Cleveland County who meet the United States poverty requirements and who are willing to work. The concept of the project is a helping hand, not a handout.
Okay, our work days are the 9th, 10th, 13th, and 14th.
Each person is required to work as a store employee. Coordinators of the Christmas store say allowing the families to work provides the greatest gift of all, dignity.
People that are in here working right now are working to get their Christmas and for their children, but at the same time, there's those 700 other families out there that they're helping, getting to know each other and it's a community project. Everyone's involved. The givers and the doers and the receivers and it's just one big family.
Gertrude knows about big families. She's a single mother of 5 who has worked and shopped at the Christmas store since it began 13 years ago. She says because of the store, needy families can give presents without giving away their self-worth. The store opens December 16th, and applications are being taken through this Saturday for those low-income families in Cleveland County who would like to shop at the Christmas store. For more information, go by the store at 1329 East Alameda or call 329-0029. Debbie Mash, Action 4 in Norman.
Here are 2 battleship games.
I think the solution that we presented was the fairest possible solution, was to just cut the whole cheerleading squad out and have tryouts all over again for everyone. I think this would have been the fairest solution, to get new judges in and have them, make the decision. There were a lot of talented people, black and white, that tried out that did not make the squad, male, females. It was really like, something happened. You were right there to see it, and you didn't know, and you don't know why.
Defense attorneys completed their case with a stream of witnesses who had attended the preschool sessions, which were the subject of this lawsuit. 8th grader Gary Savage testified he helped organize the weekly meetings. The 13-year-old said the session should continue because everyone needs someone to come in and talk with. It kind of makes you feel good. 14-year-old Cindy Skaggs agreed. She said the voluntary meetings should continue because she doesn't have time to attend church. Judge Ralph Thompson asked both attorneys to submit briefs within 30 days, and he promised to give careful consideration to what he termed the very important issues in this case. Afterward, both lawyers said they were satisfied with the 6 days of testimony.
It showed that the activities were activities of a religious nature. It showed that not only were they almost exclusively religious, but that they had a religious effect. And of course the witnesses also testified to the entanglement issue. And those are the 3 issues in this lawsuit. As Judge Thompson said, we must consider purpose, effect, and entanglement. That is what the Supreme Court has ruled. Those will be the 4 corners of this lawsuit.
I believe that without even looking at the historical interpretation and the intent of the framers of the First and 14th Amendments, and just based on the contemporary interpretations of the First Amendment by the Supreme Court, I believe the decisions are there to support a decision in our favor.
The parents who brought this lawsuit say they feel fantastic now that the trial is over. They'll have to wait for Judge Thompson's ruling, which should be handed down sometime early next year. Scott Wallace, Action 4 at the Federal Courthouse.
Personally or professionally, and would be happy to have you there. Shortfall. There also is perhaps another revolving. Well, I think what happened is that you had an agency that didn't understand its fiscal obligations and responsibilities. In my opinion, you have very fine law enforcement officers, and I regret the situation, but a matter of fact, we cannot allow an agency to be managed in this way. And I have no really further observation than except to say that it should have been known in the agency that it could not operate fiscally in this manner.
Do it.
Thank you.
At this time, it is central to the zoo planning. The zoo plans are that with the addition of Aquaticus, attendance will increase at the zoo and generate revenues which will fund other exhibits in the future.
The story began yesterday at noon when the Northwest National Bank located on North May Avenue was robbed. A bank camera took this picture of a man wearing a green poncho, a green ski mask, and carrying a small silver-colored handgun. The gunman ordered everyone down on the floor and then fled with an undisclosed amount of cash. FBI agents arrested 21-year-old Robert Daniel Rogers of Portsmouth, Virginia, in connection with the robbery. Rogers was immediately taken to the federal courthouse in Oklahoma City and stood before U.S. Magistrate Paul Lindsay about 1:20 this afternoon. Since Rogers was without legal representation, Lindsay ordered him held until Friday at 1:30 for arraignment. FBI spokesmen say a quantity of money and the gun believed used in the robbery were recovered when Rogers was arrested.
We should keep him left and to the right, down by the elevators.
Kevin Ogle, Action 4.
Last night, the Moore School Board rescinded their firings of 5 of the school principals, but not before some school patrons asked a few of the board members to resign.
Village election is truly important to you people. Is it truly important to you? Do you really want it passed?
I think that's obvious, or we wouldn't be on the board.
Ask me and I'll give you a secret on how you can get it passed. 3 board resignations, and you can forget it. You wouldn't have to campaign through the kids. You wouldn't have to do a thing. You could add the bond issue to it, and you could get it passed too. It's our money, folks, and we're going to spend it in the end the way we want to spend it.
I would like to pose to Mr. Ross and this community a solution. And I feel the only solution to bring this system out of conflict onto a road of recovery. That solution is that Mr. Ross withdraw his appeal, and in turn, I will resign from this board.
None of the board members quit, but 5 of the 6 principals did. Under the decision, the principals weren't fired, they quit, except Gene Ross. He is the only principal not included in the decision. The board still upholds Ross's firing. The other 5 principals will be paid through the end of the school year, and all information about their terminations will now be removed from their personal files. So for 5 of the principals, the battle is over. But some school patrons say Ross isn't giving up his fight against the board. Debbie Mash, Action 4, in Moore.
The scene is a familiar one. Eager youngsters waiting for the moment to sit on Santa's lap and tell him their every wish for Christmas. But imagine a world of silence. These children are deaf, and sign language enabled the children from Monroe Elementary School to communicate clearly with Santa at North Park Mall. And the reason they were able to communicate is because this Santa knows sign language too. The children range in hearing disabilities from the hard of hearing to the profoundly deaf. Their instructor knows what this special Santa means to them.
They were all very excited, and they thought that this was the greatest thing that they'd come to school for.
And for those children who weren't able to see Santa today, he has this message, whether they can hear or not.
Be good boys and girls, and remember to pay attention to your mamas and your daddies, and help your teachers at school, and I'll see you Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Bella Shaw with Santa at North Park Mall.
A lot of people that depending on us, but as you see, there's nothing but charred rubble here. We do have some toys that we didn't bring down yet, so I guess we're still the service center, and we can get a call and fill up the building or any building with anything we want, I think, the way people support us.
I'm Officer Gary Alexander. This week, Crime Stoppers is asking the public's help in locating 3 armed robbers wanted by the Oklahoma City Police Department. These are actual photographs of the suspects. The first robbery occurred at the 7-Eleven convenience store, 4701 South May, on October the 9th. He is described as a black male, 25 years old, 6 feet 2 inches tall, weighing about 180 pounds, and having a slender build. This robber used a blue steel snub-nosed revolver in this robbery. The second armed robbery occurred at the Owl Shortstop, 1435 Southwest 22nd, on August the 25th. This robber is described as a white male, 22 years old, 5 feet 9 inches tall, and weighed about 150 pounds. The suspect used a large hunting knife in this robbery. The last robbery occurred at the Little Jim's convenience store, 3200 Northwestern, on November the 29th. He is described as a black male, 20 to 25 years old, about 5 feet 10 inches tall, and weighing about 170 pounds. This suspect was described as being very dirty in appearance and used a blue steel .25 automatic in the robbery. If you recognize any of these men or have information about any armed robbery that has occurred in Oklahoma City, call Crime Stoppers. All callers will remain anonymous, and you could earn a reward of up to $1,000. The number to call is 235-7300.
No!
For many Oklahoma City public school children, the video game corner inside convenience stores has become the latest hangout. Not all the students playing video games are cutting classes. Some simply indulge only during their lunch hour or before school starts. Video games are not the only reason students may be playing hooky, but the games do draw youngsters who need a hideout during school hours. Truant Officer David Nunn says 1,500 students a year are counseled for skipping school in Oklahoma City. Nunn says as for the video craze, the business community is trying to help fight truancy.
The businesses will have signs on their doors that no student allowed between the hours of 8 and 4 or 7 and 4. And so I've had quite a bit of cooperation from the business people.
Nunn says it's unfair to blame all the truancy problems on the popularity of video games, adding sometimes it's hard to be certain whether or not youngsters playing the games are in fact truant. He says as long as at least 90% of all students are attending classes, the schools are beating the games. Ed Stewart, Action 4 in Northwest Oklahoma City.
Fire units responded to the call not knowing for sure what awaited them. A chemical fire or a chemical spill at the Wilson Food Company. What they found was a boiler failure in the building where oil and lard is processed. The failure is part of a safety feature to show the boiler is malfunctioning. Another indication is the leaking of a chemical called Dowtherm. That leak had firemen worried. It's potentially dangerous.
Well, our understanding is that if it's inhaled, there are some temporary and not long-lasting respiratory effects from it. It can cause vomiting and that kind of thing, but it's not going to kill anybody because they've been in contact with it or inhaled it. It's very foul-smelling, but at least they're able to work in relative safety.
Their main concern is that a fire may break out. Firemen fear a blaze would raise the temperature of the chemical and cause it to ignite. Sherry Sellers, Action 4 in Southwest Oklahoma City.
And
Santa's rounds this year included a stop at the Mabel Bassett Correctional Center. Mabel Bassett is the state's only women's prison. Due to system overcrowding, the Correctional Center houses 3 times the number of inmates it held last year. However, overpopulation did not slow down Santa. Staff workers passed out fruit, nuts, candy, and personal items to each woman. The recipients appreciated the gesture.
I think it's really nice. I really do. They didn't have to go to all this trouble, but they did. I think it's really great.
Yeah, I really appreciate the gifts, and I'm glad they did it, Kind of make a lot of people feel good about, Christmas and everything in here.
Okay, what's next?
Home 36.
It's hard to say whether fruit, nuts, and pantyhose were on the women's Christmas wish list. Freedom is the only thing they all want. But freedom is the one thing Santa can't deliver.
Merry Christmas.
Scott Wallace, Action 4 at the Mabel Bassett Correctional Center.
An examination of more than a dozen water samples from privately owned wells in Midwest City have shown dangerously high levels of nitrates. After careful analysis by these health department experts, officials have warned people not to drink water from those wells. They say the nitrates can be harmful, especially to children and pregnant women.
We would recommend that they perhaps consider, for their own peace of mind, to use alternate water sources.
Health officials confirm the area affected is on Beach Street, not far from Northeast 10th and Douglas. Luana Kellum and her 9-year-old daughter Amber live on Beach Street. They've been warned that their water has a high concentration of nitrates. But Luana isn't concerned. She believes she knows what's best for her and her family.
Once you're informed about something, then you can't be afraid of it because you feel like you know about it. And if I ever had any questions now, I could go straight to the water department or I could ask a doctor, and find out the answers. But from what I know now, I feel like it's safe for us.
But Polly Viverka is not sure if her water is safe. She lives close to the affected area and is waiting for the health department to come out and check her well. Until they do, Polly will buy bottled water.
Well, I'm not taking any chances. I want to have some water to drink and not have to worry about it being bad for our health.
The health department believes the contamination is confined to a very small area, but until further tests can be made, officials advise residents continue to utilize alternate sources of water. Kurt Autry, Action 4, Midwest City. Target discount stores in more than 12 states will take Golden Wheat macaroni and cheese out of backstock and donate the dinners to local charities. 4 Target stores in the metro area will be donating at least 5,000 boxes of the product to the Oklahoma City Community Food Bank. Target manager Gene Cole says the store is not just trying to get rid of the macaroni and cheese, they want to help out.
The motivation, of course, is to take care of some of the people who are not as fortunate in this area or in the United States as those who are employed. With the unemployment being as high as it is, obviously there are a lot of people who are hungry at this time of year, and Target just wants to take care of some of those people.
The Community Food Bank is glad to have the macaroni and cheese dinners. This nonprofit organization plays the middleman. Organizers here seek out donations of foodstuffs in the community and in turn give the food away to charitable organizations. Executive Director of the program, Dale Woody, believes that stores like Target play a big role in feeding underprivileged families that normally would go without.
The reality of the situation is that nutritionally, particularly when we look at children, nutritional needs are not being met sufficiently among a significant portion of our population.
Target's donation of 5,000 macaroni and cheese dinners is sincerely appreciated here at the Community Food Bank, especially around the holidays. But as many government agencies lose much of their buying power, the need for independent food banks like this one will continue to grow. At the Oklahoma City Food Bank, Kurt Autry, Action 4.
Prohibiting us from doing the very things that the public's expecting us to do, which is for the courts. And what we need to do is to have a more organized effort at an ages that would keep some inmates out of the state system than those counties that. You know, we incarcerate nonviolent offenders at a much greater rate than surrounding states or the nation does. We've been doing a good job of locking up violent offenders in Oklahoma, but we've also brought into that net just substantial numbers of nonviolent people that are contributing to the overcrowding problem, that are creating to the deterioration in quality of the Oklahoma correctional system. And we're providing services for those people that aren't necessarily appropriate